When I created this channel and named it NYY Recaps, I assumed that for the 120th year in a row or whatever, there would be stuff to recap. But unfortunately, this year, we are delayed, and we're hearing more and more that this delay could last longer. That's my dog. I got another one here. This delay could last longer than a lot of people think. We're hearing July thrown around. We're hearing August. We're hearing 40 and 50 game seasons thrown around. So there's a lot to unpack in terms of, what this whole COVID-19 situation is going to mean for baseball and professional sports in general. There are some people who say, like Mariano Rivera, he says you can't play a 60 or 70 game season because that wouldn't be a true champion, a true test of a champion to go the whole season. And then you got guys like Michael Kay and John Sterling. If you watch the Yes Network, they were on yesterday and saying, and I agree with them, by the way, that you got to play whatever you can play just for the country, right? I mean, everybody's cooped up. Everybody's depressed. Everybody's anxious. People need an escape. People need a pastime. And what better to save us than baseball? So today I'm doing something that I haven't done yet on this channel. I'm taking the weekly podcast, and I'm going to do it in video form. I'm just going to kind of riff, and I'll make it available later on the audio platform if you do listen to this podcast via, iTunes or, there's the dog. That's Cece, by the way. Not technically named after Cece Sabathia because her actual name is Cat Chaser because we have some cats. I have another cat named Joba. I named him Joba before I realized that Jabba Chamberlain pronounced his name Jabba. I got him when Jabba was still a minor leaguer, and Joba's not feeling too good today. We had to take him to the vet yesterday for a UTI. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about baseball and the Yankees. I'm going to talk a little bit of prospects. I'm going to talk about what a shortened season could look like. And I'm going to talk about my predictions for what will happen once everything comes back. So just some channel updates, by the way. We are over 1,000 subscribers in a little under 4 months. The last time I checked, it was 1,012. That means I am eligible for the Google Partnership Program, so you might start seeing some ads before some of these videos. And there's a website called Social Blade that I use as part of my marketing job that projects what YouTube channels are going to look like in the future. And they're saying that in a year, I could have 35,000 subs. So that's when this thing could potentially become, kind of a big deal for me. So thank you for everybody who supports the channel, for everybody who tunes in and watches these. I enjoy talking baseball. I enjoy conversing with people in the comments. Occasionally I get that bad comment, but most of them are filtered out. Somebody will say, "Oh, F the Yankees, you douche." And so I get that occasionally. I get, "Oh, the Yankees are cheaters and steroids and this and that." But most people are practicing good etiquette. So thanks to you who are regulars and to those of you who come to the channel a lot. I have trouble saying the word regular. Maybe it's regular. I don't know. That's one of the things about podcasting is that, I wasn't a great speaker. I've never been a great speaker. I'm still not a great speaker. But as I do it more and more, and I get to, understand the way I speak and the way I deliver information, I'm kind of teaching myself a slower cadence. I'm teaching myself to pronounce words that I've always had difficulty saying a little bit differently. When I was in elementary school, I had to go to speech class because I had trouble saying L's. Sometimes they would sound like R's, sometimes they would sound like W's, and I still hear that sometimes when I listen to my own podcasts. And it's funny because, I've never heard a single person or seen a single comment that somebody doesn't like the way I speak or that somebody, says, "Oh, you sound like an idiot," or anything like that. But still, the way I speak is the thing that I'm most self-conscious about. So, I'll try and get better. I'll try and do my best. But enough of that. Let's talk baseball. So right now, Masahiro Tanaka is flying back to Japan. Apparently, he encountered some kind of a dangerous situation which was not related to COVID-19. I don't know if we're ever going to understand what that is. Perhaps he's got a stalker or something. I have no idea. I have no idea what it could be. But he's taking his family and he's flying back to Japan, where he has to be in mandatory isolation for 2 weeks. There's no telling when baseball is going to resume, but you have to imagine that if guys are starting to disperse back to their families, and this is looking like a couple of month thing, the shutdown is supposed to last at least through April 30th. Major League Baseball has said that they're not going to resume play until all of the travel restrictions between America, USA, and Canada have been loosened up, and until the gatherings of certain sizes, until those guidelines are removed. I think that as soon as we can get mass testing put into place, where folks can get a test whenever they want, and it can be done in 5 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever, and it's easy to get, then you'll be able to see people start coming back to the ballpark. Until then, I don't think we're going to see anything in terms of restrictions of gatherings get lifted in a lot of these major cities, because it's still dangerous. We heard the governor of Georgia say the other day that he didn't know, and I'm not sure how he didn't know this, but he didn't know that people who were asymptomatic, not showing any symptoms, could spread the disease. And obviously, this is dangerous to not just the older population, the John Sterlings and the older folks that are broadcasters, the Tommy Lasordas. It's not just dangerous to those folks. There are 30 and 40-year-old people that are dying, that are getting this, and the disease turns on them, and they're gone quick. And so this is a terrifying time. So as much as I love baseball, and as much as I want to see baseball get played, right now it's just going to have to be video games. And we have to understand that there are things way more important than baseball, than recreation and pastime. We have to understand that there's a lot of people, especially in the New York area, that are really suffering and really scared. And so, as much as we want baseball to return, this is a test of our own patience and our own, ability to keep ourselves occupied and to, expand our interests beyond just watching sports on TV. I mean, it's a good time to watch movies. Obviously, I'm well stocked in movies. It's a good time to read books. I suggest Audible if you're not much of a reader. Audible, you can listen to books. Obviously, a lot of people right now don't have extra funds lying around to sign up for a new service that's $15 a month. A lot of these places have put free trials in place. A lot of libraries are offering free audiobooks. It's a good time to catch up on some good old fashioned Yankees books. There's one that I just listened to recently called The Baseball Lion, or The Lion of Baseball. I can't remember what it's called. I'm so bad at remembering titles and names, but it's about George Steinbrenner, and it's about his tenure as the Yankees owner and how tumultuous it was with the suspensions and all the different things, the managers he fired. He fired Billy Martin 5 times, and then Billy Martin died. They like they say in the movie The Scout. Who's Billy Martin? Oh, just somebody George Steinbrenner kept firing over and over again until he finally died. So that's a decent book. The Last Night of the Yankees Dynasty, which was about the 2001 World Series Game 7. And it talks about all of the people that were involved in the dynasty, the Brian Cashmans and the Joe Torres and the Tino Martinezes and the Roger Clemens and the David Wells and the Andy Pettits and the Alfonso Sorianos. And it tells it as they go through the final game of the season, the Game 7 of the World Series that the Yankees ultimately lost. So it doesn't have a happy ending, obviously, but it does give some very good detail about the Yankees. That one is written by Buster Olney. There's the Inside the Empire, which came out last year, and it follows the Yankees on their 2017 season. Talks a lot about Aaron Judge. That's one that I could recommend. And again, you can get a lot of these from your local library, right? You don't have to sign up for Audible. You can either go to the library or you can sign up for your library's audio-only version online. A lot of places do that, so that's something that I definitely recommend. Something that does kind of suck about this whole thing, even if they are able to resume the season, and I'm not convinced that we'll have baseball until 2021, especially with the way our country has responded, where not every place is shutting down, and so this thing is going to keep spreading, and then there could be second and third waves. I'm not convinced we're going to have baseball at all this year, but if we do, there's a strong possibility that the postseason will be played in neutral sites with retractable roofs, or just domes, so that is there any place left that's just a dome? I think they're all retractable now. The last one I can remember was the King Dome, but all of them now, I think, have retractable roofs. So you could play games in Seattle. Seattle's not going to be using their stadium. You could play in Arizona. Arizona's probably not going to be using their stadium. Miami, Texas probably won't be using their stadium. They've got that new stadium, which was supposed to be completed in March, but the last thing I heard is that they had to shut down some of that work because, of this situation, obviously. And it's not just the fear of people getting sick. The supply chain has been disrupted. Businesses are shutting down all over the place. And so a lot of the stuff that we need, even protective gear and masks for people who are working on concrete and working with places where there could be particles, those masks are being redirected towards hospitals and other kinds of safety workers. So I think they had to shut down the development of that stadium there near the very end. One thing to also think about is the Field of Dreams Park, which has been built out in the middle of Iowa. I know it doesn't have a retractable roof, but you might be able to sneak in a World Series there. How great would that be? Obviously, it'll be pretty cold. I don't know how cold it gets in Iowa during the fall and winter. I've never been to Iowa, but I can imagine it's pretty damn cold. So if anybody is from Iowa and sees this, tell me what it's like. So that would make for an interesting scenario. And I'm in casual mode here. I'm just relaxing. I just took a 1.5-mile walk with my dogs on my lunch breaks. Now I'm just taking some time to record and kicking back and relaxing, all cool, chilling out, Max, whatever the words are to that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song. Not that I'm from Bel-Air. Anyway, rambling again. So one thing about being a YouTuber and creating content is that it shows you the average ages of your listeners. And most of my listeners are 18 to 34. The vast majority are 18 to 34-year-old males, which is good. That's a good demographic to have. And I would expect nothing less from a sports page. But I assume that most of you guys have Instagram, and a lot of the Yankees are posting things on Instagram. Even the prospects like Jason Dominguez. I'm such a big Jason Dominguez fan. You might notice I've posted a few videos of him hitting home runs on MLB The Show, things like that. I'm just so stoked as to what this kid can become. He's only 17, and right now he's getting to work out with major leaguers in Florida. And apparently, when you think about his ratings, his scout ratings, he ranks as an above-average major league player at age 17, and he's yet to play a minor league game. And, this whole situation with games being delayed means we don't get to see him, which is kind of a bummer. I was looking forward to watching him in the minor leagues and absolutely destroy the minor leagues this season. But we'll have to wait on that. There have been a few batting practice sessions and things like that. And whenever I get more footage of that, I'll do a couple more Jason Dominguez videos. Another guy I've been more and more excited about as time has gone on is Deivi Garcia. Just watching him this spring, I know he was kind of erratic, right? His control wasn't perfect, but his fastball is electric. It's 97, 98. His curveball is straight down. It's just filthy. The only thing that worries me is that his curveball might be a bit too slow. He throws it 78, 79 miles an hour, whereas a really dominant curveball in the big leagues, somebody like Garrett Cole has a nasty curveball. It's about 86, So when it's that slow, I think guys have a bit more time to recognize it. So I'm hoping that Matt Blake, who's the Yankees' new pitching coach, he's kind of a pitching design guru. He's hopefully working with some of these guys to teach them the best way to utilize their weapons. Now, I'm not saying that a 79-mile-an-hour curveball won't work. It certainly has its place. But he's got to learn to throw one that's a bit harder. Even if it's not straight down and doesn't have as big of a break, as long as it has some kind of a wrinkle and is in the mid-80s. If you look at guys like Domingo Germán, he's like 82 to 85 with his curveball, which is, that's like my best fastball ever was like 85. And Domingo Germán has a dynamite breaking pitch, one of the best in the big leagues. Now, if you've listened to any of my other podcasts, you know that as unfortunate as this situation is, a late start to the season does benefit the Yankees a little bit because they had a lot of guys who were going to miss the first part of the season. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, James Paxton, even Aaron Hicks, who could have been back in May or June. If we start in July or August, now it looks like he can be back too. So as unfortunate as this situation is, it does look like it's going to help the Yankees in terms of their roster when things are normal again. Now, they will have to play a couple of weeks at least of spring training, if not a full spring training. I don't think they're going to play a full spring training. I think they're going to say, hey, look, teams can start working out and play some intra-squad games for a couple weeks, and then maybe they'll play 5 or 7 exhibition games, maybe even in Major League Baseball parks before the season starts. There's a lot of things they're trying to consider. But this is such an unprecedented situation. It's such an abnormal situation that no one really knows what's going to happen. It might be easier to just cancel everything, but there's so many billions of dollars and so many workers who depend on the season being played. There's game day vendors. There's people in the stadium shops. There's people around the stadium who rely. That's the thing about recording a live thing like this, is that you screw up sometimes. There's so many people who rely on the games being played to just have any kind of an income, and to cancel the whole season just hurts the economy that much more. But I'm with Mike Francesa. Mike Francesa said on his show Mike Dawn a few days ago, he said, we got to just pause. We got to hit pause on everything until this thing is gone, until we have a vaccine or until this goes away or we have a better handle on this, and we'll fix the economy later, We should stop rent payments. We should stop mortgage payments. People aren't getting paid. People are out of work. I'm fortunate enough to work from home. I do marketing, and so I spend a lot of time working from home, and I can make my own hours, basically. So things have been okay for me. I'm one of the very, very fortunate ones, and I understand that. But I know there's a lot of people who are hurting out there, and you hate to see them hurt worse by having the season completely decimated and not happen at all. But it is what it is. We're not going to be able to play until this thing goes away, until we can do it safely. So everybody hang in there. Be safe. Let me know in the comments what you think of this format. I obviously didn't put a bunch of production value in there. I just kind of recorded and dropped in my short little clips, and I'm going to hit stop, and then I'm going to just publish. So this might be something that I do more often if it's well received. So just talking a little baseball. So hopefully we'll all get through this together, and I'll see you next time.